What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. This is part 2 of the video I really tried my best to kind of keep it as concise as I could, but it just didn't work out that way, so I had to break it up into 2 parts. This is part 2 of just, my thoughts, my take, my personal opinion on the mass shootings. Well, not so much on the mass shootings because they're just messed up, but what I think the steps that should be taken as far as what we can do to prevent these atrocities from occurring. So get in the comment section, let me know what you think. And I'm going to post the full video unedited, just one whole thing, on my Patreon. So if you want it without the edit, feel free to join up. I'm going to try to make sure that I put the link in the description. All right, peace. If more people are armed, that that might stop, like the Walmart kind of stuff, or they had a situation out on the West Coast in Vegas a couple years ago in Walmart, and they shot up like a CC's Pizza, which is like a pizza joint. If there had been some people other than the police officers who got killed in that situation that had firearms, then possibly we could prevent these kinds of things. But the reality is that we have to focus on mental health. I think that is priority number one, and the thing that everyone misses. And I think that as Americans, while we are in a lot of ways, especially with the younger generation, a larger percentage of them are paying closer attention to mental health, namely their own mental health, and doing things and taking steps that are necessary to ensure that they are in good mental health. But that still needs to be spoken about, especially in the situation with these mass shootings, right? Which brings me to the idea of more stringent laws, right? They definitely can do something more and not just raise the age to 21 for the purchase of certain guns, but there should be more intense screening for everyone who possesses a gun. Right? And here's the thing, another thing that I've heard people talk about is the idea of people being able to report other people. Here's why that won't work. You have people who are just anti-gun, right? And if they find out that I have a gun in my house or guns in my house, they'll call and say, oh, well, this guy, he is mentally unstable. They can make up anything. They would have to invade my privacy in some way, shape, form, or fashion to gain any sort of proof, which they wouldn't have, right? But now that creates a whole system of people who are trying to get guns away from people in a less than moral kind of way, right? Let's say that there is somebody who is observed who really might be, on that spectrum of stability where, somebody might need to step in. Well, you got HIPAA issues then, because what happens is you can make that kind of a report and go in, you can try to take those guns, but those people are going to be entitled to getting some sort of a physician, right, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, to evaluate them, and then they have to go in. This is where the HIPAA law comes into play, because now is the doctor allowed to submit his findings, whether it's good or bad, in favor or not in favor of the patient, right, of the person. It's a violation of HIPAA to disclose this information, right? Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section. Maybe like in a court situation, it could be subpoenaed or whatever the case may be, but the reality is that would probably happen so much and gum up the system that it would become unconstitutional, because a speedy process is part of what we're entitled to. So you can't have somebody report me possibly falsely, and you come in and violate my right to have my firearm, and then it takes you 5 months, 6 months, 8 months, a year, or however long to get the process back to the point where I can have my guns. You know what I'm saying? That won't happen. So that is another pie in the sky idea, right? Now, I know there are those that are going to say, well, all you're doing is pointing out the obvious. Yes, that is true. However, I am trying to also spark discussions about what else we can do that is actually realistic. Because the truth is that a lot of the ideas that people are getting behind, the public is getting behind, at least that I see, are they're not possible. They're good ideas, maybe, but all of them have extreme faults and would create a way larger problem, or maybe not a larger problem than well over 300 mass shootings in, you know, however many days. I think we're at like 200 days now or something like that, right? But either way, it would gum up the works of the legal system in a really wild way that it just wouldn't work, right? However, there has to be some sort of a middle ground. I think that if a law is imposed, at least moving forward, for everyone that wants to purchase a firearm, this is how you got to do it, right? Make it more difficult. Make the process more intense. Make the background checks more intense, right? Hire the people to do that. That's going to create jobs. That's revenue. That's a win around the board, right? I think that is one way that we can control the guns that are already out there, and or control the guns that are going to be put out there. As far as the guns that are already out there, realistically, anybody that already has a gun that doesn't have a CCW, I don't believe that there's a way that we could force anyone who is already in possession to, you know, follow any extra steps or whatever. But as far as CCWs, which is something that I have, that's a concealed carry. If you are a CCW holder like myself, I personally would not have any problem, you know, having to take an extra step and maybe go see somebody and answer some questions and discuss my mental stability. Now, the truth in that, there's still, because the reality is, most people, a lot of people, I won't say most people, but there are going to be people who may have the intent to go out and shoot, you know, do a mass shooting, who can fake it long enough to pass these things, but, you know, who knows? I think that all of these things kind of have to play off of each other, and if they work in tandem, I think that we could see a drop in those numbers. But again, mainly, I believe that the public mental health issue in America has to be discussed more intensely, more sincerely, and we have to actually destigmatize, first of all, the idea of needing help to deal with issues that you're having mentally, right? I come from an era, I'm 48 years old, I come from an era where seeking help, you know, for anything mental, whether it be anxiety, PTSD, abuse, whatever. I come from an era where you were viewed as weak or less of a man if you address these issues or you seek help, right? The youth is destigmatizing that, which is awesome in my opinion. And I think that can play in tandem with some of these new gun laws as well, right? But something has to change, right? As far as the NRA goes, F those guys. Like, I'm not, like I said, I'm a gun owner, right? I don't rock with the NRA at all. They are all about cash grabbing, and they don't really support or get behind anybody, but they definitely don't get behind or support any black people who are in situations involving firearms, and you know, and hold them down or back them up in any way. And we could debate that in the comment section if you like as well. Anyway, this video went way longer than I intended. I would love some feedback from any of y'all. as far as whether you agree with what I said or disagree, any other points that you think, could be brought up. The reason I think that it's important that we have these discussions is because we are in an election year. It's the midterm election in 2022, right? We're really like months away from that. And we need to seriously think about who we are putting in office and what they're going to support and what they're going to fight for. And we should, as the people, it's on us to kind of lay out what we want, right? So the things that I think would work, I would love for y'all to tell me if you think they would work, and get behind it. Start writing some letters or sending some emails or making some phone calls to your local, politicians and saying, hey, these are the things that we want, and we need to hear you start talking about them and start voting for them, and maybe we can get some kind of change that way, right? But in the meantime, in between time, I'm gonna see y'all later. And I'm gonna obviously be coming back to discuss this again. The next video that I do like this, I'll probably do a little bit more research, and probably have it, where I have some talking points and some more accurate statistics to discuss with y'all. But I will see you soon, and I'll be discussing something else, so make sure that you come back. Also, you can check my Patreon, and pretty soon I'm going to be getting back on other social media, such as Instagram and TikTok and all of that. So when I do that, I would love if you guys follow me there. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and feel free to share it so that we can expand the conversation. All right, till the next time, peace.